This is the story of the QMX radio build. This is part 3. If you haven't seen the first 2 parts, you should probably go back and watch them first. I will leave them linked in the description down below. They'll get you all caught up to where we are now, which is the power amplifier transformer, the binocular toroid, which gets wound differently than any other toroid you've ever seen before in your life, if you've seen toroids before. And if you haven't, then you probably wound one of these, so you don't need to watch this one. But if you have not wound one of these, I will show you a whole bunch of tricks for what to do when you get this thing installed on the board and you do not have all the continuity at all of your test points. This is going to be like 10 minutes worth of video, and I spent probably half a day trying to figure out what was going on with this and trying to fix the problem. But I got it fixed. That's the important part. I'm here to share it with you. Let's get over to the workbench and do it. Before we go, make sure you are subscribed to the video by clicking the subscribe button right below my face here and hit that bell so that you get notified when the next video in the series comes out. Now let's go. Assemble and install TS501. Transformer TS501 is a binocular toroid. Yay! Please refer to the separate document that describes the preparation of this transformer. Uh-oh. Oh, yay. We gotta do all kinds of stuff. I only got one kind of wire. I only got this wire. This must be the wire that we're going to be using for this. And there's a separate document. So this being the only choice of wire that I have, this must be the wire that we're going to use. I can't find the end. I can find that, but I need to find this. There we go. This is what I'm going to use. In the instruction manual for building this power transformer, it goes through and tells you a whole bunch of information about why they chose this really weird method. And as you saw in the beginning of the video, as you saw earlier in the series, we've decided to do 9 volts. And it looks like 9 volts is actually going to be the easier one to do than the 12 volt method. And so he's saying cut 2 lengths of wire, one 20 centimeters and one 24 centimeters. And I don't have a centimeter ruler. I have an inch ruler. So 20 centimeters is 7.87 inches. And my desk mat has a ruler built into it. And this also is a good sacrificial mat to have. So we're looking at 7.8 inches, which is going to be, there's my short one, 7.8 inches. And then 9.5 inches for the next one. And he stresses to be very careful when cutting this wire, because this is what you're going to use for all of the inductors also. And there is enough plus some safety margin, but not necessarily a tremendous amount. Right, there is my 9.5 inches. Put that over with the toroid so we don't lose it. Put that there. Make about a 2 centimeter hairpin twist in the middle of the longer of the wires. So which one is the longer of the wires? It's this one. So in the middle, he wants a hairpin like about right there. I guess. I don't know. 1, 2 twists. And then we can take this. That didn't twist. All right, 3 twists. Sure. Then we open that up, and we open that up, put them next to each other. That actually works out being pretty good. Use a small electric drill on slow mode in one end and some pliers in the other end and twist it up. So I got to go get my drill. We're on Team Yellow here, but if you have seen the channel for any length of time, I keep them in a Milwaukee box. So I play both ends. And he says run it on slow mode. So I'm getting these wires chucked up in the chuck. And it's a 4. It's a 3-prong chuck. And what I've got is I've actually got them put up in between 2 of the teeth because the center hole doesn't go down small enough to do this. And then on the other side, hold it with a pair of pliers. And we're going to run it until the twists look like what they look like in the manual. Here goes. That looks good to me. You yellow haters, that's the last we'll see of the yellow. I promise. And we take that, and we take that. Line them up neatly. Bend the twisted pair in a hairpin with a small 2 centimeter twist at the top. And the 2 legs at the bottom, like so. The initial pass of the hairpin through the holes is a half a turn. So we're going to put these guys here. That one goes in that hole. That one goes in that hole. That is 1/2 turn. Pass them back through the opposite hole makes 1 total turn. So now take this, and this needs to be folded over in the end game anyway, so I'm going to fold that down a little bit just to help me hold it in place. Fold that over. Shove it back through. Okay, let me do this same thing on this side. Okay, that is now 1 turn. Now we need to do it all over again. But it gets easier because now the wires are holding themselves in place. All right, that is 1.5 turns, 1.5 turns. Next is untwist the wires that are outside the binocular core. Okay, so all that twisting work. So they'll remain twisted inside the core, but they will be untwisted at the outside of the core. So all untwisted, and then cut open the hairpin loop. Scrape the enamel wire, use the DMM in continuity mode, identify 2 of the 4 wires on the right band side that have continuity between them. Splay these outward. These are the secondary, the remaining 2 wires in the middle are the primary center tap and should now be twisted. I'm not sure how that would work. This is, okay. Okay, yeah, there's some magic there. There are many better multimeters, but this one is really easy to use. It's compact, it fits in your pocket, folds up nice when you don't need it, and the probes stay inside the container. That's my favorite part. They don't poke me in the leg. They're not loose in my toolbox. They don't get lost. Put it in continuity mode. Continuity mode, for those of you guys that are new to this thing, is when they touch together, it makes that beeping noise. And so what he wanted you to do was scrape back some of the enamel, which is really a pain in the butt to do. So I'm going to see how hard this is to do without doing that. And we'll get to why later. Yeah, I'm going to need to do it anyway. I don't like doing it. I don't like it. Yep. Okay. Scraping time. I'm probably making molehills out of mountains. But it's my video. You make yours. Okay, so that one goes to the center. And that one goes to the center. So these 2 here should be attached together, and those 2 there should be attached together. If we take these guys here, and he shows them all twisted up in the diagram, so I'm going to twist them up again. I could have done that whole drill thing by hand and not offended half of the audience with my yellow tool. Let's wake up the soldering iron. And you can tell that you're getting it good because it smells like Band-Aids when you do this. And I'm just attaching these 2 wires like he shows. That Band-Aid smell is the enamel burning off to make a good electrical connection. We'll see if that worked. That's good. That's good. And then these guys here shouldn't touch. No touch. No touch. No touch. No touch. Okay. Best I can tell, that means we're done. It is back to the board, and it looks pretty obvious how it's going to go in. There's only 2 connections on one side, and there are more than 2 connections on the other side. He's got these guys unwrapped all the way back, so I'm going to unwrap them all the way back. And then those 2 go in there, and in there. And then he's got a bigger hole for the one in the center. I'm going to do these outside, center, outside. That one's good. That one's good. That one's good. Okay. And now, this is why I don't worry too much about scraping the enamel off, is because this is going to create enough heat to melt the enamel. I need my better eyes for this because those are small parts. It's like better angels, better eyes. Hey, look, I can see now. Awesome. You get in here, and again, it smells like Band-Aids, and you'll kind of see it transform too. It'll start to sizzle up, and then it'll wick in. All right, I had to take off my shirt here and cool off a little bit because this one here was getting me stressed out a little bit, and I kind of got to that point where it is what it is. I showed you how to wrap up the binocular toroid and get it all installed. This is T501, I think. T501, yeah. And we get to a point in building the thing where it talks about checking continuity. My multimeter ran out of juice while I was doing this, so I grabbed a different multimeter. This one's actually got a much faster continuity on it, which is really nice. And a whole bunch of other features. But the continuity is super fast. It's almost like they just get close. And you can set them off when they're close. So he says there are hands. He says there are a couple of test points. So we have test point A and test point A. And then 1, 2, 3 is another test point. If all 3 of those have continuity, you are good. Now, those correspond to the center tap over here and the 2 taps on this side. And if you don't get continuity at first, your probe might not be in a good spot. So don't give up on your first probe. Probe a couple more times to make sure. So that's good. That's good. That's good. Now you can also probe continuity between all of those points, the 3 transformer leads and then the 3 test points. So there, 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 and then this one, it would be, and then this test point here, there, and then number 3 of your final transformers, there. See what I mean about not getting a good test right away? There, and there. So that's all 3 of those. So what I ran into a problem with was this one here had continuity between here and here, but not between here and here and here. That was a problem. And that also made it so that this test point here didn't have continuity over to this test point. And what I needed to do in order to fix that was I needed to clean this up really good, remove a bunch of solder, put some fresh solder in to get some more heating action, and then dwell and dwell and dwell and dwell. And I have my soldering iron turned up to 840 or so. And what happens on this board that's different than on the other boards, you can kind of see how this is a much shinier color underneath the green, as opposed to kind of a dull green. That's because Hans has filled all of this with ground plane, and ground plane dissipates the heat. And then the heat also goes through all of the wires and dissipates through the transformer, through the toroid. And it goes right to the final transformers right next door here, and there's a heat dissipation plate built in there as well. So you have to add some extra heat. If you are not getting continuity, keep adding more heat. That takes care of those 3 windings, and I forget if he called those primary or secondary. That's in the other book. Yeah, that takes care of the 3 primary windings. Now we have the 2 secondary windings, and they're supposed to be able to talk through ground, and his test points for that are test points B. And he says take any ground. So find a ground. Usually it's these mounting holes here all over the board, or it's this edge rail is a ground. So first verify that you've got a good ground by touching any one of the other grounds all over the board. Now that you have a known good ground, you can check that capacitor that he's talking about on the edge. And what happened to me was there was actually capacitance. There was a charge stored up inside of the capacitor, and when I would touch that at first, I'd get one beep only. And then I wouldn't get any more beeps after that. So I figured out what the problem was with that too. You're supposed to get a beep every time you touch it, because you have a good solid connection there, and everything is happy. Okay, so the solution to that is these 2 secondary windings here were not properly connected. And what I did was I checked ground, the edge of the board, the ground rail, and this one here. And that was perfectly fine. I got a good beep every single time I touched it. Then I went and touched this one, and I didn't get a good beep. So I had to do the same thing. Clean it up really good, put in some fresh solder, and dwell and dwell and dwell until you melt the enamel off the outside. It is really hard to get these guys here cut to the right length and then trim off the enamel and then put them in. And so the recommended procedure, which is, I actually learned this from building a QRP Labs kit, the recommended procedure is to burn off the enamel with your soldering iron. And so that's what I did. And here we are on the other end of that, moving on to the next step. So if you run into trouble, so did I, it's okay. We're going to keep on moving. We got it fixed. And that's how you get it fixed. You troubleshoot. There may be some more troubleshooting combinations. I didn't run into those problems, but you can do this process of elimination to kind of figure out what's going on and sort it up. We got you some troubleshooting steps on the, I think it's the TS501, the power amplifier transformer, the binocular toroid with the 1.5 turns and this primary and secondary and all the taps. And it was a long time to get it installed, and I got it all condensed down into 10 minutes worth of video footage for you. I will leave links in the description down below for all of the different tools that I use, the multimeter, the soldering iron, etc., as well as for the QMX radio kit, the QMX Plus radio kit, if you would like to get one of these and build along. And previous video in the series is right here. Next video in the series is right here, and I will see you over there. Thanks for being awesome.